right. Awesome. Okay, so today I am joined by one of the members of the MMA Brothers podcast. And I just want to say, Asher, thank you very much for joining me. Unfortunately, Darren couldn't be here, but I'm glad to have one of you on. Now, the reason why I wanted to get you on board, man, is lately on social media, you guys have been absolutely killing it. You've been putting out podcasts quite frequently and putting out content quite frequently. One thing that was impresses me about you guys is how quickly you guys get out some of that content, like within the space of like an hour or sometimes even less of a fight or fight news. You guys get it out really quickly. So that's the first thing I wanted to ask you. How do you get everything out so fast?
Yeah, I honestly, it's been just like tips and tricks of being out there and learning how everything works. So one tip I would give is usually hashtags
Mm.
are the key to like finding content quickly and reposting it. So for example, let's just say who fought this past weekend? Islam Makhachev and Thiago
Yeah.
Moises, right? So the hashtag for that was UFC Vegas 32 or 31 or something. And so if you go on Instagram and you actually click on that hashtag, and you can see between the top posts and like the recent posts, right? So from there, I can see other pages or other whatever that are talking about it. And I'll usually just grab a screenshot of that. And then from there, I'm able to just like, paste it and say like, hey, what do you guys think of like the main event and stuff like that? And that's how I can get it out pretty quickly. So it's not necessarily me that's like, I'm finding the content online, then repurposing it and then posting it. So that's how it works.
That's really good. Now, it's actually a good thing that you brought up Islam Makhachev. I was going to ask about that later on, but since we're on the topic, we may as well jump to it now. What was your thoughts on his performance on Sunday?
Yeah, a lot of people were saying he should have got the finish much earlier.
Mm,
But the thing is, like Thiago Moises is a BJJ guy, like that's his specialty, right? So,
mm,
um, a lot of people are excited to see how he would do against a guy like that because everybody else that's a striker going against Makachev, they know is going to take him down and submit and beat him on the ground and stuff like that. So, it wasn't a bad performance. It was kind of shocking to see him get the rear naked choke finish. So,
mm.
yeah, I was kind of impressed by him. What about you?
I was impressed. I actually agree with you. I did think he was going to finish the fight a lot earlier because he did have his back for a majority of the fight, and he did have multiple attempts in the rear naked choke. So I thought he was going to quite finish him there and then. But one thing that really improved a lot is his striking. There's that little meme going around saying that Khabib transferred his soul into Islam. He never really retired. It's the same with Tony Ferguson to Oliveira, and I think that's right.
Yeah.
I just think Islam's got the striking now down a lot better. I feel like standing up, he could have finished the fight standing up, and then
Hmm.
obviously he got the rear naked in. But what I thought was a little bit strange for me was like you got number 9 going up against number 14, and he's on like an 8 fight winning streak right now.
Hmm.
You got to give him a higher opponent. Uh, I was hoping that maybe he was going to get Bernal Darouche because I thought that would have been a great fight because
Mm.
obviously we know Bernal Darouche is one of the best grapplers in the lightweight division, in the
Mm.
way that he beat Tony Ferguson. But we know that Bernal is out now because of obviously he's taking some time off because of the
Yeah.
fact that he's got a child now. Anyway,
Yeah.
moving on from there, I wanted to ask you, man. So you've been doing your podcast for quite some time now. Is it roughly 2, 3 years?
Yeah, so it's been about 2 years now. And we kind of took a little bit of a break from podcasting and stuff because I've just been so busy with other stuff. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
primarily focusing more of my time on Instagram, for a number of reasons. But yeah, the podcast was going well. And we didn't really get as much luck with trying to get actual fighters on the podcast because that's always a tough one, especially when you're kind of small. So reaching out to all these
Yeah.
people was a little bit of a struggle. But in terms of Instagram, that has been working out much better for us in terms of engagement, in terms of putting out a lot of content and stuff like that. So we are getting a lot of people enjoying the post, liking and commenting and stuff, which is great to see. And yeah, hopefully the growth continues, which has been exciting. And yeah, it's always nice to engage with also the other pages too. I got to know a few of the other people in the community. This is we've talked a couple times in the DMs, but this is the first time we're actually speaking to each other. And it's been also nice to engage with all the other people that are in the
Yeah.
community. So
Yeah, I feel like that's really what we need to be doing because there's a lot of MMA podcasts out there nowadays, and there's a lot of fighters. But if you think about it, they're a fighter at all the hours they've got to do in a day, and then obviously
mm,
because we're quite small, they don't want to really devote a lot of time to someone who's quite small. Obviously, they want someone who's bigger. So I thought the best
mm,
way we can grow is just by like at least helping each other out.
mm.
And what was the other thing I was going to say? In terms of, I wanted to ask you actually about your Instagram because you guys do really well. I definitely am seeing that as a growth for you guys because one thing you guys do that's so good is that you put up a post and you put a little bar with a little writing underneath, and then you got the video.
Mm.
And in your experience, like, do you find that those sort of posts, like little small little clips or small little videos, are the best for you to post?
Yeah, honestly, we got to like trial and error because in the beginning I started with just like reposting stuff like, some page posts something, whether it's a funny thing or a funny meme or, some result, just reposting that. And then I found like that wasn't engaging as much because the followers of people on Instagram have already seen that somewhere else. So then I kind of thought, okay, we kind of need to get a little original with what we're trying to do. And so I got to playing around with Canva. Do you know what Canva is?
Yeah, no, Canva.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I started playing around with Canva, and then I didn't really have too many skills with regards to that, but again, just playing around with it over time, I did get a little better with making designs on there and stuff. And so after that, I don't know how the idea of like creating the bar and like the question there popped in my head, but it just like randomly became a thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna just like stick to this. And I found it's just easier to kind of grasp someone because like as you're scrolling through, it's like not everybody reads like the bio or like the description of what you've written. So I find like
Mm-hmm.
maybe having the actual message or the core value of that post in the picture
Yeah.
create more engagement is my guess. So I've never asked anybody like, why are you commenting? Is it because of that or whatever? But I'm assuming that's why, because sometimes people create short descriptions and some people make them long. But to me, honestly, with me, I usually scroll through pretty quickly. I see if I don't like it or if I don't engage with it within a couple seconds, I move on. You know what I mean? So I think getting that bar has been helpful.
I usually go with the idea that if you don't get them in the first 3 seconds, you're not going to get them. And then you also
Mm,
have to be brutally honest with yourself. Like, do you want to see this in your feed? And
mm,
then one thing that I believe me and my partner Jay we've had to take time to think about is don't post for the sake of posting.
mm,
Post for something that you're actually quite proud of. And
mm.
then that's why I've been spending a lot of time in Photoshop, at least trying to get something a little more beneficial. But
I
because you
uh,
guys, yeah, sorry,
oh,
you're
go ahead.
gone.
No, I was just gonna say another thing too is also just trying to be original because one
Mm,
thing that like it's hurt me a couple of times because the internet's negative.
yeah.
um and like there's a lot of toxic people out there. I think of an idea and like, oh, that would be funny, or it's a little bit what's the word, risky, I guess, to make a post
Mm,
like that, but I post it anyways because I'm like, I could post the cookie cutter thing about like, oh, that was a good fight or blah blah blah. But like again, these people that are following, they also follow other pages too that are posting the exact same thing. So I always think to myself, I'm like, how can I differentiate myself? How can I be original? How can I make someone pause for a second when they see this post? And that's what I'm just trying to do. Sometimes it works out. Some people get angry. Sometimes people love it and stuff. And yeah, that's the way it goes.
good to hear. So, do you
Mm.
guys like have any form of like social media like strategy that you go throughout the week? Like, do you do a post on a Monday or do you do a video Tuesday? Like, how does it break down? Like, what's your little game plan?
Um, no, not necessarily. So I know the engagement tends to be high, obviously, on the weekends when there's a fight card that's happening. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I'm trying to think actually how I structure it. Usually I just kind of like I'll go through the news. So first thing I'll do is I'll take a look at what other pages are posting. Usually if it's MMA fighting or MMA Island or all these other websites that are posting stuff related to fight news, I'll check them out and I'll see, okay, this is what's happening in the fight world. And then usually, because I know I would never be first to post something. Like I won't
Yeah.
be. That's just not like, I don't have the sources. I don't have the network of people to DM me saying like, hey, post this fight news. So I don't even try and engage in that world, right? I know I'm gonna take an L there if I try and repost stuff based on fight news. So I always take that, okay, so this fight has been announced, or Justin Gaethje's about to fight, or Tony Ferguson is doing this or whatever. Then I think about how I can create an engaging post based on what I've heard or based on what other people have seen, because again a bunch of other pages would be posting that news, which would be like, okay, yeah, cool, 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 but then if they see something that's a little bit different, then they're gonna be like, oh, this is interesting. And so that's kind of like my game plan. So I don't have a strategy to say Monday I need to post this, Tuesday to post that. I used to do a thing of like what is it, quote of the weeks, or like not throwbacks, fun facts and stuff like that, but I found
Mm-hmm.
those like a little bit too time consuming to like go and find something or find like a fact that nobody knows about. So I kind of gave up on that. But those ones are good too, because again, it's also different from what people are seeing on their timeline. So that's kind of like the strategy that I've kind of stuck with.
Ah, that's very good. That's pretty original. So now walk me through your podcast with you and your, is it your brother? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
Daryl.
yeah,
Yeah.
Darren. So what like inspired you guys to start this podcast?
Um I don't know. Like originally I kind of got my brother Daryl into it. I was like, yo, this UFC thing is kind of new, like it's cool and stuff. And he wasn't really into it, but then eventually we found ourselves watching it together, with friends and stuff like that. And I've always just wanted to do something different. I'm like, I went to school for accounting and that shit was boring. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do something else, and so I don't know. One day we're just chatting, and I'm like, "Oh shit, it would be cool if we started a podcast." And I honestly don't know how the idea came up, but it just did somehow. And then I was like, "All right, let's do it." And then it didn't work out like too well in the beginning. Again, it was a little bit of a struggle, but now we kind of have a little bit of a flow, which is nice.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. Now that along the lines of coming down all these podcasts and put out all these episodes, one thing I like about you guys is you. There is no sort of main set structure to it. Some podcasts, they do like Joe, for example. Joe Rogan does like his 3 hours, his 2 hours, or 1 hour. You guys like you get these little short 25 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Was it always like that, or down the line did you go, okay, this is what we're gonna do?
No, it was just in terms of creating actual podcasts, no real set formula or structure to it. Um, yeah, it was just fun, just kicking it and having guests on, talking and stuff like that. So in terms of, because like on YouTube, we haven't had, or YouTube or on the podcasting side, we haven't had much success, to be honest. Most of the success that we've had has been on Instagram. So
Yeah,
I'm not gonna pretend like I know the answers when it comes to that side of things.
that's good.
But one thing that yeah, I'm just learning as I go in terms of Instagram, looking and seeing like, okay, why is this page popular? Okay, they're popular because of this. Like, why is that page popular? Okay, they're popular because of that. I noticed a lot of like pages on IG that tend to be doing well tend to be like meme accounts, right?
Yeah,
I think the reason why they're popular is because they're different, they're original. They're not there to share like the news with you. They're there to like make you laugh or to
yeah.
something funny and stuff. And I know there's a ton of MMA pages that are doing podcasts, which are all, struggling a little bit, but that's why I guess they kind of do well. But yeah, sorry, I'm going a little
That's
round and
okay.
round with regards to
No,
asking you a question.
that's okay, because I agree with you on that point about the whole memes thing. Because if you look at what you go through Instagram, if I find something that's really funny, like a good meme, I am highly likely to send that to someone I know because I know it's going to get a laugh out of them. But if I
Mm,
see a little bit of news, I'm not going to send that to someone really, unless I had to send it to my mate, which we can discuss on the podcast and talk about. But that's usually how it goes. So I understand why meme pages are very popular. And also because those things are usually like shared by like, oh, go follow this page, go follow this page. You know, they help collaborate with each other. Um,
Mm,
anyway, so now because you've been doing this for a lot longer than me, and it's okay about when you said not having on the ice. That's fine. But I wanted to ask you, man, along the road, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned as a podcaster?
audio matters. Audio matters a lot.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, I in the beginning would just, speak into my phone or do whatever and stuff. And microphones that are like decent, like this mic that I'm using right now, I can't even remember how much I spent on it. Like it's really like maybe $50 or something. Nothing too
Mm-hmm.
expensive, but it sounds decent. It's not like, a high quality mic, but it's something that like when somebody's gonna listen to it, like if the audio is shit, they're gonna literally turn it off within, a couple seconds, right? So
Yeah.
I would say audio matters. Then again, obviously originality, right? Like if you're gonna be a podcast that's just gonna talk about like, oh, this guy won, that guy won, like I can hear that from 100 different places, right? So again, trying to have that's something that is different from everybody else is something that I learned too. And also, it doesn't necessarily have to be like the person speaking. Maybe it's like a segment in the show that is different from everybody else. Because I know someone like Brendan Schaub, for example, in his podcast, he does like the fan questions, or he would do like a section where it's like not recent news, I guess recent news or whatever, stuff like that, where
Mm-hmm.
like there's a structure to it. So when people listen, they know what they're gonna get. They're gonna get some fight news, they're gonna get some what happened or what's coming and whatever, and like they can look forward to certain things. So I think that's helpful. And also, I noticed, I don't know if you've heard of Fiverr. Have you heard of Fiverr before?
I've, I've heard of Fiverr before, but can you break it down for those who don't know?
Yeah, so there's a website called Fiverr, which is like a freelance website where people with certain skills or whatever can help you, whether it's creating an intro for your podcast, whether it's I don't know if it's podcast editing, whatever. They offer a bunch of different services, not just for podcasting, for anything, whether it's like creating digital art, whether it's whatever. So like
Mm-hmm.
the logo that we have for our Instagram page, I bought it off of a guy from Fiverr. So I was going on there, I was looking at some designs that he had, and I was like, wow, this guy's actually pretty good. So
Mm-hmm.
I hit him up, and I forget how much I paid for it, but told him what I wanted. I was like, I wanted to look like this, blah, 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 blah. And then he made the design, and he sent it to us, and I was like, great. Then even like the podcast intro, we hit up another guy in Fiverr who's like this radio dude. Um, and he has done this for a long time, and he charged like 20 or $30. I can't remember how much it was, but he made a sick ass intro, right? Like you send him the script, like what do you want us to say, and then after that, like he sent us a file of him speaking and putting some like cool music. You give him the vibe that you want, and then yeah, I sent it
Wow.
back. I was like, bro, this shit sounds so good. And then yeah, after that, you kind of start to put the pieces together and then realize like, oh, this looks good, this looks good, that, and then just trying to learn from everybody else that's doing it better than you. So
Wow. Okay. So Fiverr. So how much is Fiverr? So you sound like Fiverr's helped you a lot along the line. Is
yeah, it has. So again, it's literally not like it's a website that people with skills post their services online. So people, you can get a price for something that'll cost more based on the person that you're looking for. So just looking at reviews, I think they have a podcast section probably in the website. You
wow.
can
Okay.
see how people can help you and stuff. But again, this costs money, right? So if you want
Yeah.
to do it like
Well, you
yeah.
got to spend money to make money, man. That's how it works in this industry. You know, you got to spend all that money to buy to buy the microphone. I can't imagine the amount of money I spent as well on the podcast. But then again, like that's how yeah, how eventually it all pays off. You know, so
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So that's where I spent a little bit of money to make things look a little prettier, sound a little prettier. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's kind of it for podcast tips, I think.
Yeah, yeah, good. So audio, good visual, you know, and for me, the only thing I want to add to that is time. Like, uh, right off the bat, I don't think you can get like, top stars into just any local podcast. I feel like you need to just be as patient as you can. The reason why Joe's like the number one is just because he's been doing this for, I think he's been doing it for more than a decade now,
Yeah, more than 10 years.
Yeah, and usually, if I always say to my friends, if you want to become like like really full on dedicate yourself to something, you need like that 10,000 hours and 10 years of practice, and that way it's eventually real. So I mean, we're 1 year in already, and there's already I barely know that much, but there's so much more to learn. But then again, that's it's doing what we enjoy, and if you enjoy learning, it's really what matters. Now that's the podcast side of things done. Now we can move over to the MMA side. It's kind of the conversation I wanted to bring you to, because there's a lot of like there's I don't think there's ever been so much news, so much drama, and so much personality in the MMA world right now. So I just had a whole bunch of things that's like the hot topics and trending right now. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is right off the bat, we had Conor McGregor fight last week, a couple of weeks ago, the Dustin Poirier and the breaking the leg. Recently, he came out and said that he busted it in training, and that he said that Dana White knew about the leg break and that he was offered to tape up his leg, but he refused to. What's your take on the whole situation? Do you think he's pulling a Deontay Wilder here and just looking for excuses? Or do you
The
think?
thing is, yeah, sorry. The thing is, I actually just made a post about this a couple days ago, and it blew up. A lot of people were leaving a lot of hate comments, but pretty much what I just said was like, hey, McGregor was out here, and it's not just McGregor, his coaches are also part to blame about this. They say, oh, it's the best training camp. It was like the best. McGregor is blah blah blah. McGregor would knock out the guy who fought Alvarez in UFC 205 and blah blah blah. And I get it. Like, I'm not saying like you shouldn't say those things. Like, it's like, obviously you should hype your fight. It's not just physical, it's also mental. You're trying to get an advantage over your opponent. I get all of those things, but what I was saying is it looks bad. It looks bad when you say all that stuff and then after the fight say, hey, I had micro fractures in my shin or whatever he had in his leg. I'm not denying that that stuff didn't happen, but I was just trying to say, like, what do you think about this thing when fighters are out here? Chris Weidman, name all of them. They say like, yeah, I was the best and whatever. Then after they lose, well, yeah, my neck or whatever and stuff like that. All I'm saying is, like, can't a fighter just say like, you know what? I don't care how my training camp went. I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna destroy this dude. To me, that comes off way different versus like, oh, like it was the best time, like not everything went perfect. And then when you lose, you're making excuses. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's a little
Yeah.
bit different. I'm not saying expose what your injury is or tell them that your arm is hurt or whatever, but I don't know. I don't like that type of stuff because it takes credit away from Poirier, right? I'm not
Yeah.
saying that McGregor is lying, but I'm saying that it's like, I don't know, dude. Especially someone like McGregor who's been known to be, when he takes an L, like he's like very what's the word? Very respectful.
Gracious.
But
Yeah.
yeah, gracious. So it was
Yeah.
a little odd, and I don't like the stuff that was going on with him saying like, the death threats and talking about his wife and whatever. But
Yeah.
anyways, I
Well,
don't want
she
to
got the
rant
last
anymore.
laugh. Did you see that video or that photo of her flipping in the bird in the middle of the octagon?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a bit interesting that he was more concerned about it being a doctor stoppage rather than, he didn't beat me, or doctor stoppage. I was like,
Mm,
okay, so he's trying to control the narrative in a way. And I also
mm,
thought it was really, I was actually impressed by the way he responded to the leg break. Like, you remember when Weidman and Silva, again, different injuries, but they broke
mm,
that thing and they were howling, screaming around in pain.
mm.
Obviously, I couldn't ever take something like that. But the way that he responded, where he was that iconic image of him all angry and Joe's holding the mic
Yeah.
right to his face, I think that's probably like very, very tough, battle hardened way to respond to something like that. Yeah,
It's a legendary photo, that's for sure.
yeah. So that's the next thing I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you, man. What do you think should be next for him? Do you reckon he should have a potential four fight with Poirier and be the fourth fight? I think will be the first time there's ever been a four fight between two guys in the UFC. Or do you think McGregor should take some time off and come back and fight someone else?
I think you're right. It might be the first time there's a fourth fight in the UFC. Dana White does sound like he wants to do it. Dustin Poirier has mentioned that he is willing to do it again. He didn't close the book on it.
Yeah.
And, the McGregor fans are obviously going to eat it up. McGregor is going to talk his shit. And, a lot of
Mhm.
people said like, oh, he got beat up in the first round. It would have been worse in the second. I don't necessarily agree because McGregor has had fights like the Chad Mendes fight,
Mhm.
for example, where the first round went the exact same way. Like in the first minute or so, McGregor's doing well, but then Chad gets a takedown. I remember he cut up McGregor on his eyebrow and stuff, and
Mhm.
like he was doing some ground and pound. The second round went the exact same way. Got taken down, ground and pounded, and then McGregor ended up finishing the fight in the second round. So it could have gone that way. We never know with certainty how the fight would have played out. So I can see how the UFC will play that narrative, and McGregor will probably reference a fight like that to say like, "Hey, you think I was done? Like, look at what happened before in the past." Do I want to see it? I want to see probably McGregor fight somebody else, probably like a Diaz, to be honest. Like I
Yeah.
want to see him get that fight out of the way. Don't focus on Poirier because Poirier is probably going to be champ. Like I
Yeah.
see the Oliveira fight like not going well for Charles because
Yeah.
Dustin is just such a beast.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see McGregor and Poirier for the belt. That is just like, nah, dude. Like I don't know. I want to see him fight Diaz, and then he's probably gonna beat the shit out of Diaz. And as long as he doesn't gas out, he's gonna get that win. And then
Yeah.
at least you've had those runs under his belt, then go face Poirier again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I believe that it would be nice, or I prefer it more, if McGregor for RDA. I mean, that would be a good fight for him because I think McGregor's dropped right down in the rankings now to I think he's about seventh, roughly, and then
Yeah,
he's still in
seventh
the
or
top
ninth.
10. Yeah,
Mm.
10th or ninth. And I feel like a really good fight for him would be RDA because they can control the narrative when RDA was meant to fight him, and then he broke his foot before the fight and he couldn't fight him. So I feel like that would be a great fight for him next. And do I want to see McGregor and Poirier for? I would say yes, but for the title, no, thank you. But the idea that Poirier eventually does become champion is most likely. So if it would be, then again, I'm going to go back on what I said. But if Conor wants to come back and fight for Poirier for the title, he has to at least get one win or two wins under his belt. That's what I'm going to say. Anyway,
One one
moving on.
last thing I'll
Yeah, go
one
on.
last thing I want to say is also I know McGregor will try to come back faster than he should. That is like
Mm.
guaranteed. He's gonna like what this is July the fight happens, so he should be out at least a year. So he should be fighting next
Really?
summer, but
At least a
like at
year.
least 1 year, I think. What do you
It's
think?
funny that you mentioned that because he said that his surgery went well. He's on crutches for 6 weeks and then he's back. I was thinking more of 6 to 8 months, because there's some guys like Tony Ferguson, they destroy the entire ACL and then they come back and I don't
Yeah, but
know.
I just see like that backfiring too, because it's like again, people are gonna make a story if McGregor returns after 6 to 8 months and he
Yeah,
loses. What are they gonna say?
yeah,
Oh well, his leg, he came back too quick and blah blah
yeah.
blah. And he didn't give himself enough time. So I see that being a problem too. If I were him, I'd be like, man, just take the whole year. Like obviously get better while you're healing, but
Yeah.
don't come back too soon. It's just not necessary. So, anyways, we'll see.
It's not like he doesn't have the money. He's posting up with his new yacht, so
Yeah, the
enough of
Lamborghini.
them.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that.
oh, God, imagine being on that thing. Anyway, I want to move on to the next part now. The next upcoming massive MMA fight is going to be this Sunday between Corey Sanhagen and TJ Dillashaw. Now, we
Mm.
know that TJ Dillashaw got popped for PEDs and he's now served his suspension and he's coming back to fight Corey Sanhagen. Now, Corey Sanhagen is a fucking beast, man. Do you feel like this is the right matchup for Dillashaw, or do you feel like they're just coming back and throwing him straight to the wolves?
I think this is like the toughest opponent Dillashaw could face. Like,
Mm,
I think Dillashaw would probably have an easier time fighting Sterling and Jan compared to
mm,
Sanhagen. Because I believe Corey Sanhagen is actually better than Peter Yan. Maybe not technically. Maybe Peter Yan has like or Peter or whatever how you say his name. Jan has better technique, like maybe his jab or his cross is better. But I think like Sandhagen just mixes up so well. Like you never know what's coming next. It could be a jab, leg kick, flying knee, the heel kick, like spinning wheel kick or whatever. Like he's just so good at mixing it up. And
Yeah.
so he kind of reminds me of like a Max Holloway at 135, kind of. Not maybe not as volume heavy, but like similar style, tall, lanky, and like is good at everything. Maybe not like on the ground, but um, TJ Dillashaw couldn't have fought a tougher guy to come
Yeah.
back. And I do think 2 years off of not fighting, I think it's been a little more than 2 years now, actually,
Yeah.
of not fighting top caliber opponents. In his last fight, he didn't really fight because like the fight ended in what 30 seconds with the Henry Cejudo fight.
That's
Um,
right.
so he hasn't really had like a proper fight in more than 2 years. And I just think Corey Sanhagen, like he destroyed, I almost said Miles Morales. he,
Yeah. Marlon Moraes. Yeah.
what's Moraes? What's
Yeah.
his first name? I forget. I forget.
Marlon.
Uh, Marlon Moraes. There we go.
Yeah, yeah,
Miles
yeah.
Moraes.
I know. I've fallen for that a couple of times as well. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's two of us.
Yeah.
That
And also he knocked out Frankie Edgar at that flying knee in like 30
was
seconds.
brilliant.
So that
Yeah.
was that was a tough KO. But yeah, I think TJ Dillashaw is biting off more than he can chew. I think he's just not going to be able to keep up with Corey Sandhagen. I think Sandhagen will be faster. And then, people are saying that Dillashaw won't have the advantage because of the EPO. What's his name? The guy from that he had beef with. I see his
Corey,
face.
Cody
Yeah,
Garbrandt.
Cody Garbrandt. Yeah, he was claiming that TJ was on EPO way before, like he even tested hot, right? He's like, yeah, you're teaching people how to do EPO in the gym, and this is before he tested positive in the Cejudo fight. So who knows? Maybe he's been on EPO for a while now. And so who if he's coming in super clean, 2 years without fighting, I think Corey Sandhagen finishes him in 2 rounds, is my guess.
Yeah, that second round really is deadly.
Mm.
2021 is the year of the second round. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's fuck. I mean, I thought I was like, I was like grabbing my mate when we were watching Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. At the end of the first round, I didn't know they'd broken his leg, and then I turned to him and said, yeah, I reckon this is going to be it. And then I was like, oh no, he broke his leg. But there you go.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure at, when it comes to second round, everybody in the bar just leans forward and just focuses 100 times more fight because they just want to be ready to go.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That's how I see
yeah,
it. And so also next thing I wanted to bring up was now, believe it or not, we've got Tyron Woodley versus the Jake Paul boxing match coming up. Now,
yeah.
this morning before I opened up, I sent the link. There, apparently, there's talk between Anderson Silva and Logan Paul to do a boxing match, and I was like, Jesus, okay, interesting. Um, we'll get your individual points, but first I wanted to ask you about Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul. Do you feel like this? What's your thoughts in general about the fight?
The Paul brothers, honestly, I think what they're doing is smart. I'm not going to be a hater and stuff like that. And the thing that
Yeah.
sucks is I feel like I can't post about it on social media because they get so much hate. Last time I posted something about them, I swear I lost like at least 12 followers or something.
Yeah,
Literally, like
yeah.
I posted it and I was like, whoa, my followers are going down. Um, and yeah, I think what they're doing is cool. I think if Woodley loses, it'll be such a tough L, man, because it's like he already gets a lot of like memes made about him, the falling in and out of love with you song, and just in general, like a lot of people hate on Woodley. So if he like gets KO'd, especially against Jake Paul, that would just destroy his career. And then going on to Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather, that obviously was a disaster. That fight was terrible. A lot of hugging. And like a lot of people are hating on Floyd for not stopping Logan, but I mean, Floyd was like 150 pounds. Logan Paul is like more than 200, and he's an
Yeah.
athlete. So I didn't expect the KO. I expected, I guess, for him to box him up a little bit, but I guess it kind of makes sense. He's also 43. But then lastly, Anderson Silva. Um, he's not in his prime. I don't know if Ennis is 47 now or whatever he is. I don't know how old he is, but he's still got some skills. But then again, Logan Paul is fighting a way bigger dude compared to Floyd Mayweather, who actually knows what he's doing with his hands. So this one, I can see Logan Paul getting knocked out. So I know Anderson's not as good as he used to be, but this is he may be biting off a little more than he can chew with this one.
Yeah. Well, one thing I thought was impressive was the way that Anderson Silva fought against Julius Caesar Chavez Jr. I watched that fight back twice. I thought, holy crap, the dude's taunting him, and I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah.
In terms of Anderson Silva against Logan Paul, okay, maybe I can definitely see it going Anderson Silva's way, but it feels a little bit more evenly matched now that what is it? What's his name? Logan Paul survived fighting one of the best boxers in the world. And now he's got all this experience. He's got a lot more experience under his belt. He's got money, so he can afford. He can afford the best training camps or whatever he wants. But you can't teach hard. And obviously, Anderson Silva's obviously a lot older and he's slowing down. But however, he's more experienced. There's a lot of factors that come into it. But I do agree with you about Anderson Silva finishing Logan. I think just by the way that he fought against Julius Silva Chaz was pretty top tier. Like he could definitely pass as a boxer, and the way that Logan Paul fought, like in terms of likability, I prefer Logan over Jake, but in terms of boxing skills, I think Jake's better than Logan. Yeah,
I think so too. I mean, Logan's just more mature. Yes, he's a little bit of a dork too, but like Jake is just so immature and like all about the headlines and stuff. So I don't like that. He does know how to get attention. Like he gets me every time. I'm like, fuck, what's this kid doing now? You know what I mean? Um, so he's good at doing that. But I agree. I can digest Logan more than I can Jake Paul. So that's why I'm saying if like Woodley loses to Jake Paul, like God. But then again, this is the toughest
I've been pretty
opponent.
sure the entire social media platform will be posting that constantly on the spin. You know what I mean? Like, I wake up and smile every day knowing that Jake Paul got knocked the fuck out. But
Yeah. So either way, actually, that's a good point. Either way, whoever who wins or loses, if Jake Paul gets knocked out, the whole world will like share it. World Star, Complex News, wherever, like anywhere will share that shit. And then if the opposite happens, if Woodley gets knocked out, the falling in and out of love with you, the meme of Woodley like falling out, it'll be insane. So either way, we're getting a bunch of memes, that's for sure.
Oh man, that was just. I don't know. I just don't want to see him go down. Whoever loses, Woodley, please don't go down in the first round, man. I would have. Ben, I thought Ben was going to be like the savior of MMA and the boxing community. The one guy who got the most humiliation and then comes back and gets the most praise. I thought it would be a Cinderella story, but
yeah,
we were wrong about that one. Anyway, fine. Last little point I wanted to bring up before we wrap this up is now in the UFC. Also, we have coming up Cyril Gane versus Derrick Lewis for the interim heavyweight title. And then rather than Francis Ngannou fighting to defend his title. Now, I wanted to take what your thoughts were on that, because I honestly thought that Derrick Lewis was ready to fight Francis Ngannou. So, what's your take?
I don't know what's going on with the whole Ngannou situation. I don't think he has an injury. He didn't really get hit in the Stipe fight. Like Stipe hit him a couple times, but he didn't take much damage. And I know Ngannou has said he doesn't want to fight Lewis. He wants to fight Jones. And so when I heard this news about the interim title, I assumed that Jones, like there was something happening there. I know he got like, is it Richard Schaefer, the boxing dude, to come help him negotiate with Dana White and stuff. So I don't really know what's going on with that side of things. But if I were to guess, the reason why he doesn't want to fight is because he wants to fight Jones instead of Lewis. Like, I don't think he's afraid of Derrick Lewis, even though the first fight was kind of shit.
It was a fluke.
Yeah, it was a fluke. I don't think that fight's going to be fun to watch, to be honest. Lewis versus Ngannou. I think it's also going to be, if Ngannou was more gun shy or was gun shy in the first fight, I feel like he's going to be more gun shy in the second fight, because now he has a belt to lose, right? So he's like, okay, if I take one wrong misstep and this guy throws a haymaker at me, I'm going down, which is actually less likely because Ngannou has a chin made of diamond or something. I don't know. Like, I feel like this guy can punch from anybody. But yeah, Cyril Gahn, he's got some crazy skills. He's very agile for a big man. He's got nice elbows, nice knees. Nobody knows what his takedown defense is like, but Derrick Lewis is not going to take him down there, right? So it's going to be a stand-up fight. I feel like Derrick Lewis loses every fight until he knocks them out. Like literally,
Yeah.
that's how. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I agree with you on that one. That's true.
Yeah,
People call
but
him like the best, worst fighter ever. Like all he needs is one punch, that's all he needs. But I feel
yeah.
like Cyril Gahn's very, very quick for a heavyweight. Very, very quick.
Mm,
And I feel like he's going to cause nightmares for Derrick. So my money was on Cyril Gahn for it. But at the same time, Cyril Gahn is not really that experienced in the UFC. He's only had like less than 10 fights or something like that. And
hmm
Derrick Lewis has got the most knockouts in UFC history. So then again, going back on what I said, I feel like, Derrick Lewis, even though he's more experienced, I feel like he just needs that one punch.
Yeah.
And then in terms of Francis Ngannou, well, either way, man, like you're champion, you got to defend. You got to make sure you defend the belt. But I never really wanted John Jones to fight for the title straight away. You know what I mean? He's been out for too long. I wanted him to fight Stipe as a tune-up fighter. I felt like that would have been a better fight to go. And then if he beats Stipe, he can go fight for the title. So because John's just spent some time vacating the belt, and since then the lightweight heavyweight division has just moved on really well. I feel like Jan Blachowicz is a terrific champion. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I was
Anyway,
gonna
so
say like the light heavyweight division is looking good. Like I know, what's his name? Jan Blachowicz should be facing Glover Teixeira. Then after
yeah,
that, I really, really want to see Yuri Prohaska fight for the belt. That guy is really good. So hopefully that
okay.
works out.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Now, I just want to say thanks, man. Appreciate it. All the best. Now, before we wrap this up, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Anyone you want to thank?
Nah, I just appreciate obviously letting me be a part of your podcast today, and hopefully we can do it again in the future. And may the growth continue for the both of us. Hopefully the success down the road.
Awesome, man. Well, I tell you what we will do. I will get you back in about a month or so, and you can have your brother on as well, and then I can have two of you on at once, and we'll just keep this going, man. Because I felt like I've really enjoyed this one. I feel like you've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got a lot of stuff we can talk about, and I feel like we can definitely grow off each other from here. Okay, man. All the best. Thank you very much for your time, man. Once again, Asher from MMA Brothers Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Alrighty.